Hey, I'm Daniel Berger, and this is Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. Welcome to the podcast where Metro New York real estate meets great stories and a douse of humor. Forget the dry sales talk. Here we dive into the fun and unexpected moments of real estate. Join me each week as we explore Westchester, Long Island, the Bronx, and more. You'll hear about the people, the places, and the crazy situations that make this industry so interesting. Thanks to our sponsor, Remax Prestige Properties, we're ready to share the lighter side of real estate. Whether you're a pro, a buyer, or just curious, we've got something for everyone. Ready for today's adventure? Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker with Daniel Berger. Wanted to thank everyone for coming on this morning. Today, we have the Robert Cagle, who's a sales associate with Coldwell Banker. He also has 15 years of military experience in military service. So I wanted to thank Robert for his service to our country, allowing us always to be free. We appreciate that. He's also 12 years in real estate as a sales associate, but also as an investor. He has a big background owning businesses, and so we'll get into that. And he's coming to us today from Orlando, Florida. And so, Robert, thank you very much for taking the time and coming on to chat with me this morning.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate the invite. It's
So,
always good to
so,
talk real estate.
so, talk to me a little bit about your military background. 15 years is a long time, and thank you again for protecting our country and our freedoms. So, what were some of the things that you were involved in there? Because generally, it seems as though people that are in real estate that have other backgrounds, right? It leads up to being a better realtor, a better investor from those life experiences. So what did you do in the military and how did that, prepare you for a life of real estate?
What I specialized in the military was in electronics. I was an electronics technician, and in the military, you wind up taking on many, many roles, not just the one you sign up for. So, um, so you learn basically how to diversify and overcome obstacles and to solve problems and to take on roles you never expected to take on and things that you didn't even know you could actually like take on. So you want helping people and doing things that you didn't even realize you had the ability to do. So it's definitely a character building experience. So I've done a little bit of everything from being a rescue swimmer to a Navy recruiter to working with weapon systems uh, to doing volunteer work. I was able to volunteer and do some financial literacy programs with some of the other service members, helping them with budgets and other things. So it's really you take on a lot of roles, and the more eager you are to learn and to take on responsibility, the more opportunity that comes your way. So it kind of builds on you, as far as character development. And hopefully you can see me while I'm outside. So
It's all good. So I guess one question is, um, me thinking a little bit about the military, a lot of it seems like there's standard operating procedures is something that is probably at least somebody would think that that's what the military is. But it seems like you might have, maybe that's you have standard operating procedures, but when things go wrong, right, then sometimes that goes out the window and you need to use your brain and think of creative ways, solution solving ways. So we're, talk to me about things that were standard operating procedure and then things that you really had to go off the cuff and really just think outside the box.
one of the biggest processes which helps with overcoming any type of issue is your standard operating procedures. And for at least for the Navy side, um, emergencies is built into those procedures. So there's procedures on how to handle things. That way, when they do come up, those unforeseen events do come up, you know what to do. There's already a plan in place. So you're not operating off the cuff. So Um, so that's a big thing. So like a lot of times people think, oh, you're being paranoid when you try to think of those, like, hey, what do I do in this scenario and that scenario? But really, and military people, that's built in. So we expect the unexpected for the most part, and a lot of times we'll put certain plans in place so that when it does happen, we can act and we because just those that time that you sit there and you got to think of a plan in the middle of an emergency, that's that's a killer. People really rely on you to just act. And if you want to make a difference and improve things, you kind of have to have those plans in place. So, um, for instance, in real estate, so this is an example. You have to have exit strategies. You may have the plan. I'm going to hold this house until forever, until I die, and leave to my kids. But things happen, and you have to know, like, in case of this happens, we'll do X. If this happens, we'll do Y. And if this happens, we'll do Z. You know, you never know. So if you put a little bit of time in planning for those emergencies, and this is what I talk with any of my clients or your friends and family is, think about different strategies. You may intend to hold something long term, or you may intend to buy something and sell it in 6 months or a year. But what other strategies can you put in place that will also be beneficial? Or if things go left, and they go really bad the wrong way, what are some strategies that you can put in place that will help you survive that experience, at least
Well,
come out somewhat unscathed? So those are those are all part of the standing out procedures that the military kind of put in place that relate to being an investor or being in real estate, is planning for those unexpected things that happen. I'm in Florida, we just had a hurricane blow through, so there's certain plans you have to think about that based on your whatever geographical location, everywhere has, certain things that happen. You have to plan for those things. So hopefully that answers a little bit of that.
it does. I guess the difference is, clearly it's more important in the military. In the Navy, an emergency can be life or death with seconds or minutes to come up with a solution to change course and to save lives, right? Real
Yeah,
estate, real estate's not that important in the sense that you probably can think about something. Things could happen on a Friday. You don't have to really react till Monday, so you have time to debrief. It's much less life or death, but certainly the more that you can understand that, every time we pick up the phone, right, Robert, something different happens, and so you have to, have a good head on you have to have a plan, and then you also have to understand that this just happened now. What's the best course of action? And it's going to be different for each person because, as you said, everyone has different economics. They have different things happen, and you have to come up with the most creative, proactive solutions for the given situation.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, and definitely in real estate, it's not life or death for the most part. It sometimes it can be, but um, if you're just a word of advice, if you're going to be a landlord and you're going to be a landlord long enough, you will deal with life and death. You'll lose people through whatever occurrence. Unfortunately, uh, I've had a couple of times where I had to console families because their loved ones passed, and they were, all these were of old age, so nothing too gruesome, scary, but um, you know, real estate can be life or death. But you know, you have to think about what's the best way you can serve those around you. So um, I'm coming at it from that perspective. So if you have a good head on your shoulders and you could think and plan and help, I feel you have a responsibility to do that.
Yeah, I mean, while it is a business and it's certainly financial issues, there's a lot of emotion. Um, I remember a couple of weeks ago, I had a friend stay over. We were watching a ball game together, and I had a phone call from 11 p.m. till midnight. He, I get off the phone, and he goes, you didn't talk anything about real estate. You were all talking. It's like you were like their psychologist, right? Because it was basically three siblings not agreeing on what to do with their family, their parents who passed property. Should it rent? Should they sell? And nothing had to do with real estate. Everything was about interacting with their siblings because my point was that their parents wouldn't want them to be fighting over the house that they left them, and so that was more important of trying to come to a plan that would make sense for all siblings as opposed to tearing them apart. um, we do that a lot. You talked about people, a lot of times when children have to sell their parents' house, and you're about to close. I've had people that just wanted to lay in the bed, right? It was the last time that they were going to be, that was their connection to their parent, was their family house. And you just have to give people the time to do that because it's a loss. And we do, right? It's much more than just the P&L of a real estate transaction.
Yeah, I always said that real estate is a people business. It just happens to have, houses and buildings involved. So it's definitely, personal business. And yeah, you do have to know how to listen and how to try to try to help where you can. Sometimes you can't help, and you try to move on to the next situation or next opportunity where you can provide quality to that situation. So that's how I try to approach it. So, you know,
Sometimes it's just listening, right? Sometimes it's
yeah,
not advocating for something. It's just letting people get things off their chest and then trying to give them strategies for them to choose the next step forward. So it seems as though so real estate for me is probably like my second or third career, and it seems like it's the same for you. Um, and I feel that those life experiences allow us to be a better advocate as opposed to if we were both like 23 years old, 24 years old, just trying to do real estate. That life experience probably makes us, a better advocate for our clients.
yeah, I totally agree with that. So, I like my background, like you were saying, I've dealt with small business and I've had to deal with a lot of different people from all over the world. And there's nothing like real estate. It's their biggest investment. So for a lot of people, this is a scary thing. Either they're buying or selling, and it's a lot of stress. And to have some experience in going through this, over and over, they can lean on that and it gives them a sense of comfort. So, um, it's definitely, I definitely feel blessed to have been able to been involved in a lot of, real estate transactions. So I have a lot of experience in dealing with, you know, apartment buildings, multifamily, single family, remodels, rentals. Uh, so I pull from a lot of experience from that. So whenever I have a client that needs a little bit of guidance or handholding or an explanation, I can lean on those past experiences. So um, that's
I
definitely
think
a
that's
plus.
really it's really important. So I'm more in New York, and the last like 8 years or so has just been really a seller's market. It's still a seller's market, and when the market is constantly going at such a ridiculous trajectory, one that doesn't seem like it's going to be stable forever. That there seems like it's bubbly and maybe could pop, but that people have been saying that for quite a while. You don't need to be the best investor or to get in and make money, but that is only because of the upwards trajectory. And markets are cyclical. Markets go up, markets go down. That is the history of industry. And so that's where it's important is, not every people just can't make money automatically, which is what maybe some people did recently. And so as people need to prepare for that, you just can't overbuy something because that the renters might not be there or you can flip it. You need to do quality flips. So those are things that having a seasoned person really trying to make people dot I's, cross T's to try to protect them in case the market does do a little bit of a give back. So I think that's something that, Robert, that, you have with your 12 years of experience just in real estate, even, and also as a personal investor. You don't make money in every deal you do. Some you break even, some you win, some you lose. That's life. So you having that as your background is probably very helpful for your clients.
Yeah, and one of the most important things that I feel is whenever you have investors, you want to make sure they're made whole and that you come through on your promises to them. And if as long as you make them, you do the right thing for your investors, um, and you give your word, you fulfill your word. If you do break even, it's still kind of a win because as part of your team, those people I consider investors people that believe in me and invest in me on like I say a quick flip or a long term hold. As long as I've come through with my promises and what I've signed off saying gonna what's gonna happen for them if that comes through, and I break even on the deal, it's still kind of a win. You don't want to do those deals all the time, but I wouldn't shy away from an opportunity if I can make my friends or my investors money. And then it might be something that I gain a little bit of experience on um, as well in a new market or something like that. So, um, yeah, it's definitely every transaction is a little bit different, and it definitely builds up your experience and your tool chest. And down the road, you never know, you may be able to lean on those and help other people with similar situations.
I mean, I think that if we're in this for the long term, it is never about what you're making on this transaction. Yes, sometimes you make more, sometimes you make less. But like you said, even at a break even, or sometimes you have to take a loss because there's not enough money at the close and you're going to step up. Those instances um, are examples to help your long term because those people are going to remember that. And they might want to sell, they might want to rent, they're going to use you, they ready for another property, someone in their family passes, they need to sell, they're going to see the type of agent that you are and how you've helped people. And I'm assuming that we're in it for the long term, and the long term is really helping people. Like you said, we just happen to deal in houses and multifamilies and apartment buildings, but it's really a relationship build, right? That's really what this is all about.
Yeah, totally agreed. Um, for instance, I'm moving into a newer market, and I want to focus more on because of the area I'm in. There's a lot of vacation rentals, so I'm learning about vacation rentals so I can help people with that. And I have some good friends that have been doing this for a few years, and we're looking to take on and help people that are interested in doing short-term vacation rentals in Orlando and the Tampa area. So I'm focusing on that and ramping that up, and by the end of the year, that will be a big part of my business. So
Hey, that is tough. I've worked with several people in the NYPD, the New York City Police Department, where during COVID they were doing a lot of overtime, making a lot of money, and they were looking to diversify their portfolio. And many people, I had probably 10 clients buy property condos in Florida, the Panhandle, so a little bit in Miami to do Airbnbs. But it's risky, right? Because some of that
yeah,
market, because during the work from home, everybody was you could go wherever you want and you could work. Well, now that people are starting to call you back to work, there's less of a demand for just hanging out in a two-bedroom condo on the beach in the Panhandle. So rents start coming down, and their occupancy rates that were 90% or 95% are now 70%. So again, you need to understand the market. You have to understand that things aren't going to be like this forever. There are you know outside factors that can change. So you just need to, everyone needs to go in with an open mind, right? Like eyes wide open,
yeah,
understanding what the commitment is. And I guess our job, right, is to really paint a true picture, right? So ultimately, our investors are allowed to take on risk. That's fine. We just want to let them know where possible things that potential pitfalls. Maybe they're not pitfalls, but obviously what could happen so that everyone knows going in, okay, this is what we're doing, and this is why we're going to invest in whatever the the opportunity is.
Yeah, and when we were talking about unforeseen events in this short-term rental game, a lot of cities have banned it. So, like in California and Seattle and other areas, they've made it where you're not even allowed to do it anymore. So, I always recommend to buyers that if they're trying to buy for that model, to be really careful. So, I when I look at investments, I look at long term. I look at the safest play, and then I look at other ways. We can probably do other things like short term rentals to increase revenues, but that could go away at this stroke of a pen. So that goes into the play of the first few minutes of this conversation when you're talking about standard operating procedures. So and as you gain experience, you learn all the different things. Just like when you first become a landlord, you might have a one-page lease, and as time goes along, you start adding page after page after page. Next thing you know, you got an 8 to 10 page lease for your renters, and it's all because of life's lessons, things you've learned over the years. So, but yeah, definitely. Uh,
Markets change. Just look, right, like look at just what happened in Miami with the condo market, right? With the condo that
yeah,
basically collapsed has changed a lot. They're that's changed the economics of condo living and I guess apartment living because they have to make sure now that they're doing the proper testing, that there's reserves to do repairs. So, that was just something that needed to be. I mean, it's obviously sad that that happened, but from a real estate perspective, it's really trying to protect the future owners, to make sure that the buildings are structurally, stable, right? So,
yeah. So it's definitely going to be some pain for a while in the condo markets in Florida because of that. But I think overall, down the road, the condo this will make the condo market stronger, and it will flush out the bad actors and put people that are a lot better operators in to manage these condos. That way, this doesn't happen again because the tragic thing, and going forward, they're they're gonna they're gonna have to take better care of them so that it's a better investment for the people. Especially you're buying really expensive property right on the beach. You don't expect it to just crumble and fall down. So it may go through some financial pains for a while, for a few years, but it'll turn around and it'll come back and be a viable option for a lot of people, I think. You know, so
no, I agree with that. I think a lot of the economics and the political environment, um, for the most part, regardless of who's governing, it's kind of the same. It's just a little different, but in the end of the day, it's still Florida with the beautiful weather. People want, people who are, older people that want to have a second home. That it's a place that makes a lot of sense, and it's a place that makes a lot of sense. Orlando and Disney World and Tampa, just it's a great place to be. So, it will come back. And as we talked about, the real estate is, and most things are cyclical, right? And it got kind of hot. It's cooling down, but it's basically new people will come in whenever there's opportunity, right? New people will come in and make the best of it with their investment. So it's certainly something, I do feel that there'll be a rebound and it may take a little bit more time, but those are things that need to be done. Can you, I know that you owned a couple of franchises in like 2014 to 2019. What were those franchises and being a franchise owner is a 24/7 job. What were those things and how did they help you with the real estate world?
well, it helped me a little bit with the customer service. It is definitely a 24/7 job. I mean, I I had to get out of town to take care of some other things with real estate, and it seems when you have one of those jobs where you have to be there every day, or a business where you have to be there every day, not everything will go perfect. And then the day you have to step away for something, that's when everything breaks. That's kind of what it seems like. But you know, with with that, uh, with those businesses, they were located in malls, so um, I was paying really big dollar money for very small footprint, and it was juice bars, juice and smoothie bars. I had two locations, and um, you know, with those types of businesses, you just work a lot of hours. So I was putting in 80 to 100 hours a week for that, pretty much that whole time period. So it really just consumes your life. So, um, but with any type of pain, you if you come out on the other side, you grow. I probably wouldn't do it again. It was a really good learning experience. I met a lot of people that I probably wouldn't have met, and I've learned a lot about that industry, and I have a lot of respect for people that can, that choose to do that and stick with it. Um, and you know, with that type of business, you have young employees, so you're learning how to deal with young people again when you're a little bit older. Uh, I mean, I was early 30s when I started doing it, I think, and you know, still having to deal with teenagers even that age is it's a big learning experience, I would say, because my kid was a lot younger, so I don't know. Um, it's different. I mean, when you're working with that, you deal with a different type of finance. You're dealing with point of sales, so you're dealing with different types of the financial system. So I got to learn a lot about that and automating a lot of things. So that kind of helps me when I think about real estate. Is how can I automate things to get back time? So I'd say that would be the biggest takeaway from that experience was because it took so much of my time. I automated things, anything I could automate, I did, just to try to be able to function and move forward. So it was very challenging. I will say that. So
You know what's I you know being I'm a person that likes to I don't mind working, the 80 or 90 hours a week was what I'm sure we both do, but it is different if you don't have to be tethered to a retail store in a mall, right? So, you're right now you're doing the podcast from, you're walking around, you're outside and you're able to you're able to do to a little bit be freed because you're not in that situation. So it's not about the hard work, but it is also being there. And clearly we have people who uh you know call us all the time, and I'm a broker, so I have people that follow up. But it is a lot different if you're just allowed to be on your phone and video and meeting people as opposed to being in the store. So I applaud you for that. I'm sure you learned a lot, but two juice stores, in a mall, I can only imagine, that makes you almost want to go back to the military for another 15 years of service, right?
yeah, yeah. So I'd tell you one thing that definitely kind of promote this business is you may put in a lot of hours. It may be challenging. You may have to deal with a lot of customers, but you get to choose where your hours are spent and who you could spend them with. And I think that's a reward in itself. So, um, I really enjoy being able to help people, but I also like being able to make sure that I'm where I want to be. So if I want to be, if I have dedicated hours, I want to be with my family. I'm going to be with my family, and I'm not tethered to a specific location where I have to answer to a landlord says you have to be here from 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. Or whatever it is. Um, so I really like that side of the business, and I like that I can control my time and I can work with the clients that I want to work with. So I really feel like my time is more precious, is more valuable when I can pick and choose where I spend it.
I agree a lot. And While the work and most I just see that, Robert, any job that you ever were going to do, you're always going to be busting it and putting in the time. That's just who you are. Um, but yeah, this is it gives you a little bit of freedom to pick and choose. Also, as an investor as well, is that if you see the right opportunity, you can jump in with your own funds and partner with different other clients as well, which is kind of a cool thing. You're kind of nimble. You can get in something for a couple of months, maybe a fix and flip, and then sell. Um, with your feet on the street, you're able to do that. So that's the beauty of our real estate. That's why we like it so much. And where it's something that can probably be in our, we can probably work with it probably until we're ready to retire, if we retire.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the mentors I've had, they're pretty pretty up there, and they're still doing it because they love it. And I like this. I really love real estate because you get to partner with people, and you get to help them when you can. Sometimes they help you more when you don't expect it. So it's a really good thing when you own a business. Say like for instance, when I had those smoothie locations, um, it was kind of all on me, and if I couldn't really walk away and have someone else fill that role for me. In real estate, you make friends with other investors, other realtors and brokers, and if something comes up, sometimes you can lean on your friends to help you out, and they can do the same with you. So I've had deal flips where I've partnered with someone and had a health emergency come up and wasn't available for like a week, but the project just kept moving along seamlessly. So it's kind of a very unique business. So
What do you see in the next 6 months to a year in our business? What trends do you see in either Florida or other markets that you're working in?
well, there's a lot more there's a lot more inventory. Things slowly growing here in Florida. So, that's been affecting the prices. They've been slowly coming down. And, eventually it's going to get to the point where people are going to get very interested in buying again. I don't know when that's going to, happen and switch and the prices change. Um, but another thing that I've noticed is a lot of the sellers, I don't know if it's because of legislation or technology, but a lot of sellers are taking on and these trying to sell their own properties, and um, and then you wind up seeing properties that are on the market for 200, 300 days because the process, you know, although it seems like it could be simple, there's a lot of moving uh, parts to it, and any one thing could just sink you. So it's good to have the experience of a knowledgeable realtor um, behind your back to make sure that everything is done correctly and that you don't get taken advantage of. So I don't see our job going anywhere. The market's definitely changing like it always does. Like I said, it's cyclical, changes, has little cycles, and we haven't had a downward cycle for a while. I mean, who knows? A lot of people say it's definitely going to go down, but there's nothing like real estate as investment. So um, I it's I think it's always a good if you buy right and you have strategies in place. I think you always do well. You know, so even when things good are going the other direction, they're going down. You can still buy right, and you'll be okay.
I agree. Well, Robert, I appreciate you coming on today and just giving us a little bit about you and talking about your business. Again, thank you for your 15 years of military service. We all appreciate that. And freedom is not free, and it took you 15 years of commitment to help us with that. So thank you very much. Um, for it's Daniel Berger with another episode of the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. Until next time, thank you all for signing up.
Thank you, Don. You have a great day.
So thanks, Robert.
Bye.
Okay, take care. Thanks for joining me on the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. I hope you enjoyed our time together as much as I did. If you laughed, learned something, or just had a good time, do yourself a favor and subscribe subscribe to the podcast. A big shout out to our sponsor, Remax Prestige Properties, for making this all possible. Remember to leave a review if you enjoyed the show. It helps more people find us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it fun, and keep exploring the adventures in your neighborhood. I'm Daniel Berger, your New York Realtor, and I'll see you in the next episode.